welcome. My name is Mike Bailey. I am the training manager here at Palisades. Truly an exciting day. I'd like to welcome government officials, local, state, federal level, business partners within the community, domestic and international business partners as well. Welcome to Palisades. Truly a historic event today. Palisades is committed to safely returning Palisades to reliable operation, providing 800 megawatts of clean energy to the grid, and employing 600 individuals in the Southwest community. So thank you all. One of the long strings in our restart project is the ability to qualify and train operators. To be an operator at any nuclear plant, you have to have a license from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Our operations staff, the department's about 100 people large, about 50% of which are licensed operators. Those 50 people are made up of a combination of union individuals, non-union individuals. Probably about 60% of them are military veterans from the Navy nuclear program. So a very diverse group in the operator ranks. To be able to get a license from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, we train people in this building. It's about an 18 to 20 month class. You have to meet certain eligibility requirements to get in. Like I said, a lot of it's the nuclear background from the military, degreed individuals, highly skilled technical jobs. We train you here, high level math, sciences, heat transfer, fluid flow, and then this wonderful machine here, which is an identical replica of the main control room. It's called our nuclear plant simulator, where we're able to inject various things, start up and shut down the plant, run through various casualty operations, things like that. So, any questions? Jim, anything you want to add?
No, it is a privilege to be an operator on a nuclear power plant, and it's a well-earned item by every individual who goes through it. It is a lot of time spent studying and preparing for the exam that the NRC puts us through. They have to do 2 dynamic simulator scenarios in here, pass a very large comprehensive written exam, and then do what's known as job performance measures, where they go out and they show they perform 15 separate individual tasks. So it is a long, arduous process, and individuals who go through that, they truly earn the right to get that license.
So Palisades was fortunate. We were able to retain about 60 to 70% of our original licensed operator staff. So the people that are going to be operating the plant are people that have had experience operating the plant before. The remainder that are currently going through the training program, they come from those diverse backgrounds that I've talked, places throughout the industry as well. We are going to do a little bit of a demonstration. So nuclear plants in general are designed to be inherently hands-off. We are trained to take operator intervention when we need to, but we have the event, one will automatically do it, or we can take manual action to shut down the reactor operating at 100% power, 800 megawatts, take it down to 0% power in a matter of about 2.5 seconds. And so that's what we're going to demonstrate here today. Yep. So who wants to help? Sign me up. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to trip the reactor. It's pushing this button. So right now, the reactor power is controlled by what's called control rods. So all those control rods are withdrawn. When you push that trip button, their gravity dropped into the core, breaking that nuclear chain reaction. And then operators at that point would typically go around. I talked about their very passive systems. They just go around and just kind of verify everything's working as expected. For whatever reason it doesn't, then they'll take manual actions and intervene and manually exercise the equipment. So,
Mike, would you, before you get to that, would you elaborate on how many years it takes an operator to get a license, and how much requalification training occurs after they have a license? Because I think that's an important discussion.
it is, and just a little bit about my background. I have a license. I've been here 28 years. I've had my license a little bit over 20 years. I started out Navy background, non-licensed equipment operator out in the plant. Worked my way up through the control room and then operations management ranks. So once you get selected for that class, like I said, it's a minimum academic work experience requirements just to be eligible to enter the class. It's about a 20-month process. And then when you're done with that, I talked about the test, and you think the training stops then? It does not. We have 5 operating crews. They rotate through to cover 24/7. Every 5 weeks, one of those crews spends a week out here, 40 hours, doing nothing but continuing training. So I would challenge any industry out there that dedicates 40 hours every 5 weeks to train its employees. And that training is part of its classroom training, part of it's in here in the simulator, and then we're constantly evaluating. Every year we need to renew our licenses and kind of go through that evaluation process all over again. So it is a continuous leg of training and qualification to be an operator here at Palisades.
So do most of the people here today relocate to come work here, or are these people who are in the area who find out about the job? Like I think you have 26 people going through the process right now. Are they mostly local, or are they coming here, relocating for this job?
I'm going to say yes to both of those. Obviously, the 26 people, they were licensed operators when Palisades shut down in May of 22, so they were local to the area. The talent that we've brought in, there's just been a lot of genuine excitement that they want to be a part of what's happening at Palisades, recognizing the historical significance of what we're undertaking here. And so some of them are local, some of them are from other places in the industry, some of them are from various professions across the country.
And I can further that. I've worked at Palisades since 1996. When the plant shut down in June of 2022, I went and stayed with Entergy, and I went south to the Granville Nuclear Plant, Port Gibson, Mississippi. When they announced that Palisades was coming back open, I put my retirement into Entergy, and I came back. Because Michigan's my home, and this plant is my family. So this place has a draw, and a lot of people came back with that same story. I am not unique. We brought a lot of people back that went elsewhere, that didn't stay as part of the decommissioning, that came back when they announced that we were reopening.
And I think I'll just add a little bit. So we had about 45 people leave retirement to come back to this plant to train the next generation. We had about 100 people who had worked at the plant before but relocate back. And we had another 150 or so who are new to nuclear, who had never seen this plant before, who are just learning either out of college or from another discipline. The plant's population now is just about 500 people. So we've brought on about just almost 300 people just since we announced the close of the line, which we thought was our biggest challenge, was recruiting. And then Mike and his team and these young men have graduated 26 NRC licenses, which means they received an accredited training program for both operators and recently for maintenance and technical as well. Graduated and received 26 operator license from the NRC, which is the fastest on record. So congratulations.
That's a question about what this means for the community, for those who are from here, either we're from here and now back. Like, what does this mean? How big a deal is this for this area?
We have South David Mayor in here.
Yeah, Nick, where'd Nick go? We lost him. Well, I'll tell you my version of it. So obviously the hiring and the jobs. I think the tax base, so this plant pays about $10 million just in direct taxes. But if you think of a 7-to-1 impact dollar for dollar, you figure it's $100 to $200 million a year of impact. The plant also avoids, and I think we came up with the calculation of 4.1 million tons of CO2 a year.
That's a lot.
Right? So and when you multiply that times 30 years, you're talking about 900,000 cars, I think was our calculation for 30 years. So, you know, if you like breathing, we recommend this type of product. It's a good rule of thumb. So those are some of the indirect impacts, but obviously the housing that goes with it, the grocery store stuff, the schools that go with it.
And I'll add just above the 600 in-house workforce, we have a large supplemental force supporting our restart project. And so all those people are all staying here in hotels, apartments, eating out at the local restaurants, helping to support that. So it is a significant positive impact to the community.
Yeah, and this plant is a 100% union workforce. So we have the UWUA, the USGOA for the Guard Force, and then 15 building trades on this plant, some of which are in this room. So we view it as we provide a livable wage, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's another 1,000 people every time they do a refuel.
yeah, every 18 months, another 1,000 people. Or if you added everybody, the building trades, the professionals, the plant workforce, we're right about 800 people right now, as we sit here. And I apologize for how crowded that warehouse is gonna be, but we want everybody to see this, because this is a big deal. And this is the first one in the world to ever do this. So it's a testament to this team and the team that's working here,
Well, it's
how
a
they're
lot of
getting
attention, you guys know that, I'm sure. But certainly
Yeah, a lot
energy
more
circles
attention than
is
we would
getting
desire.
better. Attention in a good way in terms of what's possible and what we can do,
Yeah.
overall strategy, so.
And we like the fact that it's also causing other plants to think about the same
Right.
thing. And I think
Right.
everybody knows about the Chris Crane Energy Center, formerly TMI, restarting as
Yeah.
well. I know Dwayne Arnold has publicly announced they're considering it. And then when we go over and do our event over there, you're literally standing on the footprint of the first 2 small modular reactors that will be at Palisades, built in this country.
For the SMRs, is there any different type of training that's going to have to be designed?
It'll have its own plant-specific training and its own simulator as well. But in a lot of regards, it's a very similar plant. So we consider it's got some very innovative techniques that we're using, but it's old tried and true technology so that people that use it aren't having to be exotic, if that makes sense. So we believe it's deployable. We intend to break ground over there in 2027. We're already doing the core borings now, and we intend to have it on the grid 2030, 2031, subject to 100,000 footnotes. We also intend for it to be on time and on budget. So, and then for those that don't know, and we do a lot of reporting to the Department of Energy, this plan is on time, this plan is under budget.
Thank you.
And I will speak on behalf of every Palisades associate. Beyond restarting Palisades and just making electricity, we are committed to having a trained, qualified, proficient workforce that's planning on and looking forward to operating for the next 25 years. So this is not a just try to bring the plant online. We're bringing the plant online with qualified, a quality plant product and quality plant associates that are going to operate and maintain that plant for the long term.
And I always brag about the simulator training staff, but these young men that came back from retirement, our complement of about 10 people have 2 centuries of experience, which is one of the best in the United States.
I love the story, your point about like the economic revitalization, and your point that you're saying, once we get the plan, and the other super is coming, and not only do you come back to the plan, but also, and all of you are also like part of the story of building that like next generation of expertise, because it's not gonna pay huge dividends for kids in the probably beyond. So it's such a great
I appreciate all of you giving us the opportunity to do this.
All right, any questions? All right. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do the boards get to ask questions now, or doing that over there?
I don't know, where's Dick? Are we asking questions now or after we break the plan?
Let's do that. Well, we could go into questions now. Sure.
We can do a few.
So you got 500 people employed now, you're gonna do another 100?
Yeah, it'd be approximately 70 to 100 in addition, plus we bring in 1,000 people every 18 months to do an outage.
What do the operator jobs pay?
I think our average is $117,000 a year. And then there's scales above and below depending on what your skill level is and your licensing levels.
Do they require like a minimum bachelor's degree?
No,
No,
they do not.
no, we can-
A lot of our operator staff comes from military ranks. I saw all 4 of us, or 5 of us were all come from the military ranks.
Yeah.
It does not require a degree. That is one avenue that can meet the requirements for it, but
In
it's not
fact,
required.
our entry-level position, the non-licensed operator, the requirement is that they have a high school diploma.
Exactly. That's a big factor to me. Like, just my opinion, this country can do a little better at incentivizing people that don't have college degrees to get professional jobs that pay a living scale. This type of industry is one that does. So you can become a nuclear operator just graduating high school. You have to have the aptitude, you have to put in the years, and you have to have the experience and training. Then you have to learn, and you have to be willing to work hard.
Did you say that this won't tie into the grid, the power again until 31?
No, that was the SMRs.
Yeah.
This plant will be on the grid. The early date is October of next year, so 12 months from now. Right?
One thing I know we'll get over in the speechifying, but the extraordinary legislation that was passed over the last few years and a lot more tools in the tool belt, certainly for the Department of Energy, but also the Department of Agriculture is a big reason why we're here and giving a wind at the back of making the economics work for this. So you'll hear about the $1.52 billion loan, Jigger Shaw, who's the head of our loan program, so instrumental in that, and then some funding from the U.S.
1.3 billion.
1.3 billion. So thank you for those who are federal taxpayers. Thank you for that investment. And frankly, allows us to have this momentum and wind at the back, whereas we really didn't have that before. So.
And the
that's
state
part
of
the
Michigan.
story.
So the state of Michigan gave some very significant grants. The USDA, the Department of Energy provided the loan, and then the grants to Wolverine. And then the other aspect of it was Dr. Singh himself had the nerve to take the risk to do something that had never been done in the world. So you have an entrepreneur, CEO of a company, who is willing to do this.
Yeah, just to amplify that, I think, for all of the work that we're doing, and it's a lot, it all starts with someone wanting to do big things, right? Like this is never initiated by the government side of things. We're providing the tools and enabling and helping, but it's really American innovators and entrepreneurs that are the center of this.
We joked that to do this, all we had to do was get the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the Department of Energy, the Department of Agriculture, and the state of Michigan, and Dr. Singh to all work together. I mean, it was anybody can do it. And here we are.
As long as you have a local Panera.
There you go. Oh, and Wolverine too. Yeah, Wolverine. I lost Eric, but
Wolverine.
Eric and Gary. So we also had to have someone buy the power. Right? It doesn't do any good if we generate it and can't sell it, right? And so Eric is the CEO of Wolverine, and Gary's the chairman of the board behind you there. And they enabled this. I mean, this plant would not start without their ability to buy that power and distribute it through Michigan. So it was probably the #1 factor in the whole equation, besides all the benefits we just talked about. Go ahead, Gary.
And Kelly, our other offtake partner, Hoosier Energy, we have Gary.
Oh, Hoosier as well, yes. I didn't see him over there. And I would tell you that the two of them, with some very creative discussions, made this happen. And Eric and I joked because he called up one day and said, "I'd like to talk to you about offtake of this power for this plant." Dropped out of the sky. We said, "Can you be in Florida tomorrow?" He started driving to the airport, and he had his admin calling the airports, trying to get on any airplane, I'm pretty sure, in a middle seat, non-reclining by the... and I think within a couple of months, we had a deal struck. So, and it's, I give a testament to the cooperatives, Hoosier and Wolverine. They're not non-for-profit, rural distribution of power. And people forget that most of the grid in the United States was created by the co-ops and the USDA prior to that. So kind of a unique big deal in this country right now.
Probably be interesting for you to say a few words, because we talked about this a year and a half ago.
We did.
So why don't you say a little bit about what drew you to this project?
We did. We sat down with Administrator Burke when we first saw the opportunity for New Era funding as a potential. We said we'd like to talk to you about a power plant that we can't describe and we can't tell you what technology it is. Do you think it would work? And to the credit of the Rural Utility Services and Department of Ag, they said, "Tell us more." So it was a lot of flexible thinking that allowed today to happen.
So 5 federal agencies, a couple of state agencies, maybe 4, and a private entrepreneur with the desire. And then a workforce that was willing to come back. I mean, come back and train the next generation, also a very big deal.
So Andy Miniger with MERS News. I'm wondering, is there any steps left with the federal government that you guys need to go through? Is there any hurdles left that before even the first test that you guys do of the restart?
There's hundreds of steps. So we have 7 license applications and changes in to undo the restrictions that were put in when the plant was shut down. All of those are in review by the NRC. The chairman himself told us in May, June timeframe they would be through those. We're in the process of dismantling the whole plant. So we took the whole reactor apart. We took the steam generators apart. We've taken apart the main transformers and 7 other transformers to refurbish all of that. And then we also send the Department of Energy a status report every month. That's how I can say we're under budget and on schedule. We notify through the NRC and through public forums everything that we find as we tear this plant apart and then put it back together. So yeah, I would say there's lots of steps, and it's until this, even after this plant is running, there will still be steps, right? This is a highly regulated industry, as you would imagine. So,
Yeah, I mean,
Nothing insurmountable.
yeah, the loan itself is being used to take all the steps to refurbish the plant to turn it back on. But the Nuclear Regulatory Commission will ensure that everything is done safely and is up to, the safety standards that they expect before they'll allow it to be turned on. But it's an extraordinary partnership.
And when are you guys expecting to kind of do that first test? Like you had mentioned that you said you were expecting to be turned on next October, but I'm guessing there's going to have to be some tests that happen before that.
Oh yeah, there's probably 30 NRC inspections between now and then. There's all kinds of refurbishment and inspections ongoing as we speak right now. So I would say there's probably, by the time we've licensed this plant, we've returned 240 engineering systems back to service with an inspection going with all of those as well. So I would say they're ongoing. The final operational readiness review and the receipt of fuel for this plant is approximately August and September. And that's your mark. Once you receive full license, return to operational service, and you receive your fuel, and you've passed an operational readiness review, then you're ready.
My last question is, could you talk a little bit about how important the money that came from both the state and federal government was to this project?
Extremely. So this plant would not start without it. So without the $300 million from the state of Michigan in grants, that's what was paying for our time to staff the plant, do the training, get the accreditation, etc. That also paid for the fuel that we're going to use to put in this core to start this plant. Then the loan grants and the tax credits through the IRA, it would be impossible to do it without it. And then when we met with Wolverine and Hoosier, most power agreements in this country are 3 to 5 years long. You cannot finance this kind of deal with that short period of time. So we had to have a multi-decade power purchase agreement at a fixed and stable price, which we believe was to the buyer's benefit as well as the seller's benefit, in order to do it, because we have to pay back this loan, and it takes 18 to 20 years to pay it back, right? So it's a big financial obligation, as you would imagine. So I would say without the IRA, without the grants from the state of Michigan, without the production tax credits and the IRA itself from the federal government, the grants from the Department of Energy the Department of Agriculture that's going on, it would be impossible. The financial model simply would not exist for this plant.
Thank you.
So if you don't mind, I just want to highlight, so part of the state grant, so Representative Joey Andrews was a critical player in getting the funding from the state of Michigan. So thank you very much.
Kara has disappeared on me, but Kara from the governor's office carried the weight. I mean, Kara, I think you were the one talking to us from day one before we even decided to do this. Kara helped us with the governor's office. The governor, of course, had many conversations with us and some of the governor's team, but a lot of credit deserved too.
All right, so to keep our timeline rolling, let's see some bells and whistles. So who's gonna Alright. One of our licensed operators. So what you're going to see right here is right now the plant, the simulator is modeled as being at 100% power. We're going to trip the reactor, which involves inserting the control rods, immediately breaking that nuclear chain reaction. You're going to hear some sounds. The system is modeled. You'll hear a little bit of feels on the floor and everything like that. You'll see a whole bunch of bells and whistles going off. But at that point, it's a very hands-off. The operators will just kind of go through and validate system response as expected.
Would you guys just briefly give them an explanation of the reactor model there?
Alright, so we have a model of our control rods that shows that they're all fully withdrawn out the core right now. And when we trip the reactor, the lights are going to change. It's going to indicate that all the control rods have gone in and been inserted. We have indication up here, and I have indication on my computer here for the control rods.
That's what you're gonna do. So you'll do that with Joe. Joe's our reactor operator, I'll be the turbine operator.
Hi, Joe.
Hi.
Don't mess up.
I know. It's not an operation.
Part of this, the control supervisor, which Derek is going to be doing, he gives the direction to the reactor operator that's at the controls, which is Joe, to trip the reactor, and you will see a three-way communication, and then we'll have it. And these formal communications you see, this is how business is done every day. This is not for show. This is how we do business every day.
Joe, trip the reactor. Derek, I understand, trip the reactor. That's correct. Okay. So trip the reactor, we're just going to push this one right here. We're going to look for a reactor trip line up here.
Tell me when.
Go ahead, right up.
Derek, time 13:29. It's ready to truck. All 4 lights are fully inserted.